Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Experience Kills. I am your host Ben, but today I am joined by two amazing other co-hosts. I have Richard on my left.
Woo! Woo, woo, woo.
And I have Rob underneath us.
Hello. I quite like the fact that you pointed the different direction to where Richard was sat there.
What do you mean, point to a different direction? I think that's how it's going to show up, isn't it? On the recording, isn't it?
I'm above
Maybe
you.
on your screen.
Yeah, because I'm recording from my screen, so this does make sense, Rob. Stop questioning me. I know all the technical things. How you guys doing?
I think both of us are coming around to the idea that we've got to put you in your place somehow.
Well, I'm the Fuhrer.
You're getting a bit too big for your boots.
Oh, really? Really? Am I now? Yeah. Is it just because I'm
buying
buying two? Is it because I'm buying two Xbox Series thingies? Is that why you don't like it? Is that what it is?
No.
No. I don't know. What is it then? It's just
You
because I
still haven't
was
cancelled
right.
one of your pre-orders.
No, I did today actually. I cancelled the other Series X today.
Good.
So I'm getting an X and
Good.
an S. Yes. So that's now free for someone else to have. Enjoy.
Good.
Glad to hear it.
That is a dick move, sitting on pre-orders.
Well, I wasn't ever going to buy two of them. I did make that clear. It was just to cover myself in case there was an issue.
Yeah, to cover yourself, exactly.
Yeah, that's what he claimed.
I won't brook any of this revolution, guys. It won't happen. Not under this dictatorship. I'm sorry. It's just the way it is. So yeah, we're back with another episode. Like, this is what? Is it 4 in a row?
4 in a row.
This is incredible. This is unheard of since the days
Has
of
been
Brit Xbox.
4 weeks in a row, because they've all been in a row. It's just a very long row.
I suppose you're correct in that. Yeah, that's accurate. But yeah, with this one, we've got a little bit less news. Like, well, not as big, chunky news. There's still a few news things we're going to talk about. But we are going to actually talk about some video games we've been playing and stuff, which will be nice. I know Richard's been clamoring for that segment to return, which is why he's joined us today.
Yes.
To get involved with that, but yeah, we're gonna hit some of the big subjects. Do you guys want to just get into it?
Yeah, let's go through the news.
Let's go for the news, guys.
Go through the news.
Rob, I want you to hit this first one because you're very. We talked about this before, and you're very passionate about this, and I think Richard will very much probably agree with you. But I really want you to tell us about this first news bit.
Yes. So CD Projekt Red, obviously they're releasing Cyberpunk 2077 very, very soon. I forget the exact release date. I'm sure Ben has that engraved on his arm somewhere.
I want to say like November 18th,
19th, I believe.
19th, 18th, 19th,
Yeah.
something like that, yeah.
They went on the record a little while ago saying, oh, developer crunch, we're not going to do that. We promise to our devs, we won't make you do crunch. They're now doing crunch. Compulsory 6-day weeks and compulsory overtime. It's paid, which is something, but the fact they've gone back on their word is saddening to me because, yeah, they're compensating their staff, but organise it better.
It's not just paid though, is it? It's also that they're getting a big hefty profit share out of the back of the sales of Cyberpunk, which are going to be extensive, and that's going to equate to I would think a large amount of money in addition to the paid overtime for all of the staff as well.
Very true.
I think it's worth mentioning. It's also worth mentioning that they were very upfront about this. This wasn't a secret. This wasn't trying to be hidden. They've accepted, the requirements of development in this situation, and they've been very forthright and open with the public and with gamers in that regard. But you can't deny that after making such a big deal about not doing it, that they've done it, and that is unfortunate.
Yeah. That's the bit that I don't like. So, okay, yeah, they're compensating their staff very well for it, as you would expect at this point. But after going on the record when developer crunch was a big news topic a little while ago, to then turn back on their word, I find that frustrating as a consumer because it just implies that they don't really care and they're just going to go back on it. What's to stop them not sticking to any of their word about anything in the future because they could just change their minds?
Richard, I'm curious that your feeling on this because I know anybody that's followed Experience Kills for any length of time knows we're quite political, we're socialist, very much on the left side of things. How are you feeling about this sort of stuff, Richard? Employment stuff.
My gut reaction is to I suppose, question how the devs feel about it. If they're being paid, if they have gone through multiple delays to avoid crunch, which they have. Perhaps this is understandable on the part of CD Projekt Red. They really don't want to miss that Christmas window, do they? So it has to come out in November. If the only way that they can do that is to crunch and do it in a way that respects their developers as much as possible in giving them financial rewards for the extra work that they're going to have to do, I don't know. I don't think it's ideal. It's not great, is it? Perhaps the mistake was in saying that they wouldn't do crunch when there may be circumstances where they just don't have the choice. It's part of development sometimes, isn't it?
It's
only the Sith. Only the Sith deal in absolutes. Never box yourself into a corner where you say you won't do a thing. You will do our best to avoid doing the thing.
Yeah,
that's how you should say it.
And it sounds as if they have done their best to avoid it.
I think
I would say it's down to what the developers feel about it. Have we seen any consternation from within the studio?
No, I don't think so.
I would be surprised if they weren't on gag orders, to be honest.
I'm not sure that's how CD Projekt Red kind of behave, though. I'm not sure if that was the kind of studio / publisher they were, they wouldn't have come out as so forthrightly and announced this publicly to the world that this is something that was happening. If they were then going to gag their staff, there's no reason to behave that way. I think it's something to bear in mind that what Richard said is sometimes it's a case of development. Not sometimes, the majority of the time. The majority of time in software and video games, there will be a period of crunch that's required at the end of the development cycle to make a game come out. And it's a big systemic issue with the entire software industry. But I think the difference here is that if you don't mandate it across the whole studio, what happens is you have pockets of people crunching, which means that they're going to be crunching harder because not everybody's doing it. So isn't it more fair to say this is going to be mandatory across the whole studio? We're all going to pull together. That creates a better sort of team cohesion, and you've got that profit sharing thing as well that's coming in as a reward for it. And I think they're doing it in the best way possible, but it is sadly the reality of development that crunch periods will generally always happen, and it's all about trying to make it as short as possible, because that's the problem with the industry. There's always that final push, though. That's always going to happen because there's always more bugs that you don't expect. There's always more polish required than you don't expect to have to be done. And the game has already been delayed 2, 3, 4 times to try and avoid that, like Richard said. So I think it's unfortunate, obviously, but they are being fairly compensated for the work.
Yes, I won't argue on their fair compensation for the work, but there are dozens to hundreds of software companies out there that do releases in all sorts of different genres, from technical softwares through to games that don't do crunch.
I mean, like
if people can avoid it, if people can avoid doing crunch, then surely the rest of the industry should be looking at how to avoid doing the crunch, whether that's delaying release dates, creating a window to allow for excess time. I don't know. I don't know the dev cycle of a game. I don't know how planned out something as huge as Cyberpunk must have been. I assume a modicum of planning must have happened. But I don't know. It's saddening as a consumer. That's all. My cat is wanting to now involve himself in the podcast. I apologise in advance.
So, in related news to stuff we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks, we now have a date for EA Play games joining Game Pass, which is going to be, unsurprisingly, November 10th, the launch of the Series X and the Series S. So we're going to get this kind of quite substantial increase to the library there, with another 60 games joining. I don't think, Richard, you weren't here for that stuff, were you? So that's pretty cool news.
I haven't been on the show to talk about that news, but yeah, I'm aware of it. That's good. I think I own most of the stuff that I would be interested in already, but aside from my own personal interest, it's very good for the platform. You can't argue the value proposition that brings to an already fantastic service. So yeah, very good news. Only complemented by the recent Bethesda news as well.
Yeah, do you want to touch upon it? Because you weren't here to talk about all of that. Anything you wanted to bring up? I mean, we covered it quite extensively last week, me and Rob, but yeah, feel free if you wanted to jump in on that.
Well, I don't think I'll have any new points to make other than what you've already said, but just from a personal perspective, I'm really glad to see it. Doom Eternal is one title that I'd held off from buying and been tempted by ever since launch. Don't need to buy it now. Very good to get the value from my ultimate subscription for big titles like that. It makes a real difference to achieving that value proposition. I think it sometimes dips off, doesn't it? You get a long spate of games that come out, and you think, well, I'll play it because I'm paying for it. But there's not always something really big that you think, yes, that justifies my subscription. Like the Forza Horizon 4 release and things like that you think, well, it's obviously a no-brainer to subscribe rather than buy the game. So Doom Eternal is one of those. And yeah, long may that continue.
I'm going to play some of it tomorrow. I have it installed, I have it patched, I have it ready. I'm excited.
It's great. Both of you are playing it now, like, for the first time. It's such a great game. No, I really enjoyed that game a lot, and I think the fact that it's included in the service is frankly amazing. But I think that also segues us nicely into this other bit of news that's happened in the last... I think it might have happened before last time's podcast, Rob, but I think we missed it, or it was happening at the time of recording or something like that. But Amazon Luna. So this is Amazon's foray into the streaming services, kind of in the same way as Google Stadia, but the big difference being, instead of Google Stadia's you need to buy the games again, as individual purchases, all games included in Luna are going to be much more like the Game Pass model, which is the idea that it's a subscription service, and you paying a very reasonable monthly fee of about $6, probably about the same in the UK, £5-6, something like that, per month to get into this library. And I think it's Google, Microsoft, and Amazon are all trying to get in on the Netflix equivalent in gaming. And I think it's the future, isn't it? It's going to be the future of content delivery. These guys are saying that's where gaming is headed. Otherwise they wouldn't be betting so big on this. And I can't wait to see how good Amazon's foray into this, what their server infrastructure like is, because obviously, like Google, they have a really strong server infrastructure with lots of server farms, and they obviously already provide hosting for a lot of people. So they should be able to leverage all of that. And that's really exciting. I think that's really interesting to me that they've come at it from the subscription point of view rather than buying the game separately. And I'd be really surprised if Google doesn't pivot hard and change their model to match, because it seems to be the successful one. Did you guys look at this story? What do you guys think about this? Because I think that pricing, they've got things like the Surge 2 on there. We've got Control's going to be out there from the beginning. Plague Tale Innocence, Resident Evil 7. Not necessarily the biggest, newest games, but like some critically well-regarded larger titles from the last couple of years. And then that's going to start the service. And then the other one thing before I do throw to you guys on this that I just wanted to point out in case you hadn't seen it is they're going to be doing a similar thing as they do with Amazon Video, which is going to be offering channel subscriptions. So the first one that's been announced for that is there will be a Ubisoft channel, which you can subscribe to for an additional fee, which will provide you all the latest, newest Ubisoft games streamable immediately, including things like Watch Dogs and Valhalla, right from the offset. So that's going to then be a partner subscription to the Luna subscription, in the same way as you can get like the MGM channel on Amazon Video. So that's different. That's cool. That's kind of an interesting little optional extra you can go for. So where do you guys feel about all this? What do you think?
I think it's certainly more appealing than the Stadia alternative, isn't it? It feels like because it's owned by Amazon, that could really leverage the position they've got with Twitch to consolidate their position as a leading streaming game platform, not just in viewing games, but being able to jump into those games and play them after watching someone else play that immediately.
Yeah, so there's going to be integration built in. So they've said in the same way Google Stadia, damn man, did those guys overpromise? In the same way they promised YouTube integration, which still hasn't happened. I do believe Amazon will have the Twitch stuff probably from the day one of launch, and you will be able to you're watching, you hit a button, you're playing it. That's really powerful.
With Twitch viewership being as good as it is, I think they've got a massive head start with the potential audience for this. And they've got a better pricing structure already in place than Stadia. I think it blows them out of the water. The question is how it competes with Xbox, because for me, I'm already in that ecosystem. I have my Ultimate subscription and free cloud gaming as part of that. I don't need to buy any more games. I started doing it properly this week, so I bought a controller for it. I'll show you in a bit. But I've started playing my xCloud stuff with that. And the wife was concerned about how many more games I would have to buy as a result. And I was happy to tell her absolutely £0 on more games because it's already there. So naturally, that's where I'm going to stay. But for people that aren't part of an ecosystem, or just maybe have too much time on their hands, this looks like a really, really great platform. And I'd be interested in trying it if I wasn't already locked into something else.
I think that's going to be the key point. A fair amount of gamers, 15 million gamers now, more than, have a Game Pass subscription. So they're already locked into one game streaming service. Obviously, you've still got the crowd from PlayStation and so on that necessarily won't have a Game Pass a sub that's active. But I think it will live and die on what it can offer. Because if it can't offer a competitive game, a reason to go over onto the Amazon Lumia platform instead of just buying the game outright or something similar, then they're going to struggle, I think, to move in on the Xbox crowd, to be certain.
My first inclination when I heard this news at that price point was, oh, I'm just going to get it. Like, why not? But I because you know what I'm like, Richard, yeah. But then I looked at the games and I was like, there's literally nothing here I haven't played already. So if they had maybe a couple of titles that were exclusive or a couple of titles that weren't available in any other streaming platform, in the same way as Amazon Video and Netflix compete with each other, you know, a lot of shared library, but also it's the unique ones that make you want to pick it up in addition to the competitor. Once they start having that, then at this price point, I'm definitely going to jump in. But I'm guessing there'll be some kind of free trial. I'm already a Prime subscriber, so I already have Prime Video and Twitch Gaming. I'm guessing there'll be some kind of way of expanding that sub that will just include Luna, you know, rather than having a separate, just being, I'm already in that Amazon ecosystem in a fairly big way. So, you know, I think in that regard, because I've already got all these, you get lots of free games with Twitch Gaming, right? So there's absolutely loads on there already. I have this huge library of games I've never played. So the idea that all of those that I own maybe become streamable and I don't have to then locally install them is appealing to me. That they've not said that. It's kind of the same thing with Game Pass and xCloud, where you've got all these games on Game Pass. You'd think they'd instantly be streamable and they'd be part of that, but they're not necessarily in the same deal. So there needs to be some kind of consolidation. There needs to be some clearing up of what these companies are offering. xCloud is still, I don't think, being supported to the fullest it can be. I think Microsoft are being very slow with this rollout, very canny with this rollout. You know, they're putting it on Droid, that, you know, they're going to then, maybe we'll see it on more smart TVs, we'll see it on PC, and hopefully eventually we'll get it on console as well, as part of, like, you know, you bought the game, you can stream it before you have to install it, which we've all talked about previously as something we'd like to see as part of the service. So I feel like that's all coming, and it's all coming together, and it's exciting to watch how, you know, how content, how games get out there, how that's changing as we move into 2021, 22, and to the future, as the internet infrastructure just gets better and better across the planet. You know, we're fortunate in the UK. We don't have as much in the way of bandwidth caps as, say, America and Australia, but there is still a lot of that's holding it back. So, you know, I'm interested to see what Luna does. I kind of just want to try it. I tried Stadia. I was very impressed with the quality of the streaming. So I'm definitely want to try what was being offered by Luna. xCloud streaming, for me, I think it was more like it was being hamstrung by the devices I've tested it on, and they're just not good enough really to you know, they didn't have 5G Wi-Fi connections, for example, the devices I had. So I really want to get something tested on a 5G one, because 2.4 just seemed spotty. You know, everybody knows that's a really clogged sort of providing system at the moment. So you want to get on 5G, it's a lot cleaner, a lot more high speed. So yeah, I'm going to try and get a device sorted out for that. But if you want, Richard, we can sort of break the flow of news a bit here, and you can jump into showing us your hardware, as it were, that you've gone in for that, because it makes sense to talk about it now. And you can show us, and you can tell Rob how expensive it was.
Okay, well, maybe we can have a little game you can guess, Rob, if you don't know already. But this is what I've bought this week. This is a Razor Kishi controller for use with Android devices. That's what it looks like in the flesh. And I've got the Xbox edition, which comes at an even more inflated price than the regular one. I've been a silly boy this week.
Oh no.
What do you think, Rob?
I'm going to start the bid at 80 quid.
80 quid is what the standard ones cost.
Okay.
For the Xbox edition, it is a bit more.
100?
It is £100. And it is kind of plasticky. It doesn't feel like it's worth £100, but it is good.
I like, aesthetically, I like the fact it clicks together. There looks to be some sort of catch on the back that holds them in place, and the fact it looks like it slots over a bit of your phone on each side. I quite like that.
Yeah, but I'll demonstrate. So it's got a couple of switches there. That pops out the back cover, and then it just comes apart like that.
That's clever.
That's nice.
You've got a USB-C connection there. So I'll show you how that plugs in.
For those listening to the audio version, I apologise.
Yeah, apologies, guys. But as simple as that. You just plug it in.
That's very elegant.
Stretch the other thing over the side, and then you are in.
I'll give them that. That's very clever. I would not spend £100 on that.
Can I just point out, you can just pair your Xbox One controller with your phone and you use it via Bluetooth. You do not need in any way a £100 peripheral. but Richard's, and that's what he does.
You don't need it. And I considered that. But the selling point of this is because it connects directly into the USB-C socket, there's no latency with this device. So the controller is part of the phone. It becomes a console in itself. And rather than a Bluetooth solution.
That's nice, Richard. But let's be honest, the latency isn't going to be coming from the Bluetooth solution. The latency is going to be coming from the Wi-Fi connection.
It's coming from both.
Yeah, but I mean, is it going to be noticeably worse? Like, is what I'm saying. It's already spotty because of that connection. So,
yeah. But the other thing is when you've got one of those brackets that hold a phone onto your standard controller, that is quite heavy, and I think
it's not comfortable. No, it's not if you're going to spend hours on the device. No, it's not. I think that's really elegant. I love that. There's a great bit of design. I think it looks great. Connected to phone makes a lot of sense. But wow, £100. Woo, not sure I could do that.
It's a lot of money, but I don't know. You pay a lot more than that for a Switch. So for a phone that you've already got, for a system that you're already subscribed to, £100 isn't a big deal to have a Switch-like experience with Xbox games on it. And it feels sturdy enough. You can see I'm twisting and turning it there. It feels solid, even though it's just clipped onto the end of the phone. And yeah.
So this
Doom Eternal on my phone?
That's pretty cool. We can literally see Doom Eternal running right now on his phone.
Pretty cool.
So was this your first foray into xCloud, Richard, or had you tried stuff before? What's your thoughts on it? How's it been for you?
I tried it briefly when it was in was it the alpha release? I had a quick go on it then, and it felt a bit choppy, but mainly it was the controller solution that bothered me. It felt cumbersome to, I haven't got a clip, so I was just resting my phone somewhere and then using a standard controller to play it, and it didn't feel quite right. This feels much more natural. It's not obviously as good as a regular Xbox controller, but because it's all in one device, it's a really good temporary solution, like if you just want to go to the toilet and carry on Destiny or whatever. Nice. It might actually get me into things that I tend not to play. So if I'm just on the sofa with something on the TV that I don't really want to watch, maybe the wife's watching something, I can just have a crack at Destiny for 20 minutes, I think it will change my gaming behaviour. So if you've got £80 to invest in the standard one, it isn't worth the extra £20 for the Xbox version, because literally the only difference is that little Xbox button there. You still get the button, it just doesn't have the Xbox logo on the regular one. What you do get as well, there's a 14-day code for Xbox Game Pass Ultimate in the box. I can't use that because I've already got a subscription.
I have about half a dozen of those codes.
Yeah,
which I can't
so if there's any listeners that want a code that aren't on Ultimate yet, let me know. You can have that.
Perhaps we could do a giveaway when the Series X releases.
Give away all our spare codes we can't use because we're already Ultimate subscribers. Because they'll all come in the boxes, won't they? Yeah, we'll get them in the boxes with the consoles. That's a really good point. Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Give back to the community.
Yeah, we'll give away some codes, and when we do our launch day, stream / this, I don't know. We haven't decided yet, but it'll be something. Rob's we're gonna open all our consoles together, aren't we, guys?
Yes, indeed.
It's gonna be exciting. But no, that's really cool, man. I like that. I mean, while we're just touching on our hardware stuff, by the way, I kind of forgot to put this on my. I guess it's news. It's not really what we've been playing, but I set my Elite Series 2 in for repair, and I just want to give a props to the fact that it came back real quick. Like, it was only there a couple of days. I got a brand new a brand new controller straight away, which had none of the issues that the previous one had. You know, props in that regard to the service from Microsoft, though obviously you shouldn't have to be sending your premium controller in for a fix less than a year after you purchased it. Let's be honest, the reliability of these things isn't great. But the service I got from, you know, the return repair situation was very, very good. So, you know, however you feel about that, I'm never going to invest in one of these again. I'll play the Series 2 until it goes again, you know, and if I can get another fix or whatever, but I'm never going to spend that kind of money on a controller again. It's just not worth it. I've done it twice now, and both times the reliability has sucked. I don't know why that is. It's insane to me that that's even a thing, frankly. And it's not just us. It's not isolated. It's happened to Richard. Had the same thing. It happened all over the internet. You've only got to pop on Reddit for 5 seconds and you can find people posting about their broken Elite controllers. So, yeah, I don't know what that's about, but hey, thank you for the good service. Right, let's move on to the next news story. Guys, are you up in arms? Are you fuming? Are you furious and upset and heartbroken about how they've changed Peter Parker's face in Spider-Man?
Are people upset about this?
Oh my god, yes.
Very.
The internet has melted
Very.
down over this. It's like, guys, Corona, elections, protests, perspective, anyone?
Peter Parker. More important.
It's been silly.
No, but no, even if nothing bad happened in the world, what's the problem with this?
So, where do you start? I mean, basically, with Spidey 4, his face on PS4 looks kind of like Andrew Garfield and a bit older. It looks a bit more of an adult. And now, for the PS5 version, they've changed it so he looks a lot more like Tom Holland. And not because of that, their reasoning... what they've said is a technical reason. So they're looking to improve the fidelity of things like the facial animations in the PS5 version. And because of that, they've recast the actor who looks like him to be closer to the visual appearance of the dude doing the voice acting, so that the syncing is better and therefore all of the animations are better. Personally, that doesn't ring completely true to me as a reason for that. It doesn't seem, with technology how it is today, and mocapping and lip syncing and all that, it seems a little unlikely. But yeah, people have been flipping out about this.
I don't know why it would bother anybody, but that is a nonsense excuse, isn't it?
People hate
that
change,
reminds me
Richard.
of... Do you remember when Ubisoft said that we couldn't have a female lead in Assassin's Creed because women are hard to animate?
And it turns out we couldn't have a female lead in Assassin's Creed just because the people working at Ubisoft were misogynists.
Yes.
So that's a difference, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. It sounded bullshit at the time, and it turns out it was bullshit. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, Rob. What do you think? Are you upset, Rob? You seem like you're upset. Are you crying a little bit? I can see a tear in one eye.
No. I'm not upset. I'm not crying about it. I'm just sat in the corner, just going,
Face
idiots.
Yeah, it's so dumb, isn't it?
Pointless. Absolutely pointless. Like, come on.
It's not a small change.
Technology. No.
It's a very big change. It's a very drastic appearance. But
the voice actor happens to look more like the actor representing Sony's trademarked Spider-Man in the MCU films. That can't be a coincidence. I'm sorry. No. You're bullshitting your way through this because you wanted to drive home the fact that you have Tom Holland as part of your franchise bit. You still have the little bit of ownership, the little tag on his ankle that says provided by Sony. It's needless. Absolutely needless. They did not need to change it. Morons.
But at the same time, does it matter? But at the same time, does it matter that they did? Like, you know, while they did, it's kind of like you could argue, oh yeah, whatever. But the reaction is still disproportionate to what's happened here, isn't it? I mean, it's like, who cares? Like, it's still the same game. It really makes no difference.
It would be the same as turning Marcus Phoenix ginger.
Oh no, we couldn't have that. That'd be disgusting. I'd have to boycott Gears of War then. I'd have to boycott Gears of War, man. No,
I'm glad you're taking that point seriously.
No, what I mean is, no, I'm not sure it is the same because you're dealing with a franchise there. This is not a franchise. This is a re-release of a game. I think this is frustrations over the way they're handling Spider-Man. This is it coming to a head. That's what
it's a new game / expansion / exaggerated DLC pack, because let's face it, that's what it is. In their franchise, we're gonna see a Spider-Man 2 after they finish this. They're gonna start developing it. They probably already have. So there is no difference between this and a different franchise, because this will be a franchise. This is the first step in a franchise because it's not Spider-Man 2 yet, or Spider-Man : snappy subtitle.
Go with that argument then. It makes sense to change it, right? Because if they've got Spider-Man 2 in the works and want to have a new face, aren't they better to patch it into the old one so there's continuity?
Potentially.
It's a good point.
But then maybe they should retroactively patch it through to the PS4 version as well, replace the model fully. That would be more sensible.
Yeah, but this is the whole problem. This is the ridiculousness of this, the way this game is being handled by Sony. That from the cross, saves not transferring, no free upgrades.
Yeah.
All of it has been poorly handled from moment one. Where we were talking about that last week, Richard, and it's just kind of been like anti-consumer from moment one, talking about where this is going to PS5. So it's not been great. And it's just another thing that people can be annoyed about.
Have they confirmed where you're going to be able to access the Miles Morales content from? Is it going to be a separate?
It's a separate game. It's a separate game. It's not connected to.
Yeah,
it's not. Okay. It's not in Spider-Man. It's its own thing. Yeah, it'll probably be a main menu option, like you said. Yeah, it's probably how I suspect. Good. Hey, Christ, the way they handle this, it'll probably be two separate flipping apps sat on your cross-media bar. I mean, it's just like, another way of saying, haha, screw you, we got your money.
My worry was that you would need to complete the main Spider-Man story before being able to access that particular exaggerated DLC pack, which, considering saves don't transfer, is a real potential, could have been kicking the nuts.
Yeah, that would have been... I mean, Christ, man, don't even say it. It's possible, I suppose. God, I hope not, though. That would be
You can
shocking.
buy it without Spider-Man entirely, can't you? You can get Miles Morales on its own.
Can you?
I
don't even know at this point. I didn't think.
You definitely can. Yeah, it's for sale on its own
on PS5.
On PS5,
okay.
I think it's marginally cheaper than getting the full package with Miles Morales and the upgraded Spider-Man. I think it's called the Legendary Edition or something. But yeah, you might as well buy the both of them. But since you can get it on its own, I presume it's its own launcher and won't have any connections to the original game.
Phew.
But yeah, that carryover of saves is a big deal. I mean, that in itself has put me off buying into PS5 because you know what I've said. I've said I wouldn't get one at launch, but I am always tempted. I think, what if? And that's one of the things that has made me think, nope.
No, that's fair. There's just a lot of, they're just not handling things well in that regard at all. And there's been more this week about. We're only confirming the top 100 PS4 games will be back compat. Yeah, at this time. I mean, it probably will work with everything else. And it's just like, your messaging is so shit, guys. Like, just give clear responses to these things. People clearly care. But anyway.
How you access them, whether you can just download them from the store, whether you need a disc. What?
No, I've not seen anything. No.
Community surprise, I think, is going to be the method that.
Well, you can only use backwards compatibility to get a PS4 game if you've got at least 3 trophies in that game. Otherwise, it will lock you out. So,
that would not surprise me.
That's not confirmed, guys. Just so you know, but it could be possible. Let's be honest at this point. Right, let's quickly touch upon October's games of gold games and PlayStation Plus games. We'll just quickly rattle them off. If there's anything you wanted to mention, feel free to jump in there. But Xbox One, we've got Slayaway Camp, Butcher's Cut, we've got Maid of Sker, we've got Costume Quest, and we've got Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy, all coming this month. I've already played some Slayaway Camp. I saw Richard was playing some Slayaway Camp. That game is quite good, isn't it? I was enjoying that. It was really stupid.
I was playing it for some easy achievements this morning and thought, actually, this isn't just for the achievements. I am enjoying this game. So it's kind of a puzzle game, isn't it? Where what was that old puzzle game where you used to push crates around? Was that a thing? I remember something where you just had to push crates in a direction and then get them out of a maze or something. This feels like that. You've got to go... You're a killer, and you can move in any of the 4 directions, but you can't stop until you hit something. And you've got to find a path to get all of the people in the level to kill them, and then reach an exit. And it's just working out how you can reach all of them without falling in a fire or down a hole, or just not being able to line it up properly. to find a barrier to stop yourself.
It's quite challenging.
It's just
It's
pretty
quite
good
challenging.
fun, yeah.
I first after the first few levels, I got into it and I was like, oh, you actually really have to think about this. And it's like when you've got to complete it in a certain amount of turns as well, so you're trying to optimize the run through the level as well. And that's like, it's actually it's quite a head scratcher in places. It's surprisingly complex, and it looks cool. It's funny. It's got a really good sense of humor. It's gory as all hell as well if you turn the gore on. Yeah, it's actually really worth checking out. And the same reason as you, we'll talk about why we're going for easy achievements in a short while. But yeah, I was doing exactly the same thing. So on PlayStation Plus, though, we have Need for Speed Payback, not good, and Vampire, pretty good. No, I liked Vampire quite a bit when it came out a few years ago on Xbox. I believe we reviewed that, and it's actually not bad, is it, that game? So as a freebie, it's kind of cool on PlayStation.
Definitely worth playing. From the guys who did Life is Strange. And enjoyable.
Yeah, you couldn't be any more different. It's not that kind of game.
It's not anything like Life is Strange, except it does have that thing about moral choices, which it does pretty well, I thought.
Yeah. And then we'll quickly hit on the Game Pass games for this month. We've got quite a lot. Obviously, we started with Doom Eternal. Definitely you guys are all over that, yeah?
Oh, yes.
I will be. I've only played it on my phone so far.
Oh, that is not the optimum way of playing that game. Oh my god.
Oh, I know.
Big. You want the 60 frames. You want no latency. You want it to look as nice as possible on your 4K TV. And trust me, it's as a ripping tearing good time there. Drake Hollow on PC. Brutal Legend on Xbox One is going into Game Pass. Now, that is a fantastically underrated game from Tim Schafer and Double Fine. It sounds like you guys have both played it already, looking at the nods. And
I haven't, but I really want to.
Oh,
I've heard nothing but good things about it.
It's so
I
weird.
really want to give it a go.
It's such a weird mashup of genres, but it's got such a cool world. It's so metal.
It's got Jack Black in it as well, hasn't it?
It does.
Yes.
That's
he features really heavily in it. It's a really funny game.
Yeah.
I hit a wall on it. I played it on PS3 when it first came out, and I hit this awful wall because, you're right. It's got this mix of different game styles, and there's turn-based strategy in some bits of it that I didn't really get on with, and some of the later battles it's a real slog. So if you can get past that, the open world adventure stuff and Jack Black being in it, it's just really funny.
See, turn-based strategy I quite enjoy, so for me that would be a bonus rather than a slog. Having not played it,
I'm a big strategy gamer, but when that game came out and it became that, I was like, what? This is not. I was expecting like action slasher, action game. You're running through, hitting things with your guitar or whatever, or like various musical weaponry, if you like. And then it becomes this strategy game, and you're like, wow, this is a very strange direction. But if you look back at Double Fine's history of games, you actually then kind of go, oh no, that makes sense. These guys are experimental. They're often trying stuff with gameplay and genre, and I think now, if I'll go back and play it now, I'd probably really appreciate it a lot more for what it was trying to do and how creative it is. And they do a great job with the back compatibility on Xbox One. I almost want to say though, wait until your Series X comes, because it could be even nicer on that when it comes to resolution and frame rate and all kinds of things like that. So people have had
I have so much to get done before the Series X gets here.
Don't put too much pressure on yourself, man. Let it be. It'll be what it'll be. The games ain't going nowhere, brother. They'll be there for you whenever.
No, the seasonal only content in Destiny 2 is very much going somewhere at the end of the season. That's FOMO, how seasonal content works.
FOMO to the max. Yeah, you got. Well, yeah, that's true. We have the Halloween event, don't we, in Destiny? Yeah. Just quickly go through the finishers list though. Ink and Fell is coming out on the 8th as well. I don't know what that is, to be honest. I think that might be new out on Xbox One and PC. And then Forza Motorsport 7 as well is making its way as they slowly put everything first party onto Game Pass that's pretty much ever come out. So that's a good game, but it's not Horizon. I'm really looking forward to playing Horizon again on the Series X. I've already got it ready to move from an external onto the console itself. That load time at the beginning of that game, it was atrocious, so I can't wait to see if that's reduced.
You mean the compulsory beginning of the game nap you had to have?
Oh my god, it was
so playing.
You would be sat on that screen with that car in like with the leaves. What felt like for days sometimes. And I also
Borderlands 3 is worse.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Borderlands 3's opening loading is awful.
No, I I had so many problems with Horizon 4 technically though. It crashed or it would not open about half the time I tried to open it, you know, after restarts, after internal drives, external drives. It's just super inconsistent. So if I can get it consistently to load up, I'll be happy. Because it is such a great driving game, that. So that sort of takes us through the main news, guys. So do we just talk about this cool little thing that's happening right now on Xbox? And I wondered if you guys had any tips for our listeners and our viewers. So basically right now, through Microsoft Rewards, there's a punch card that's gone up for the next couple of weeks, basically. Whereas if you sign up to it, you activate the punch card and you will get, for every gamer score you make, up to 10,000 gamer score, the same amount back in Microsoft Reward points. Which is awesome, and I wish they did it all the time. But it's really cool that they're doing it right now, just prior to the next generation. Obviously, it's like, you know, get through your backlog, try and finish off some of your games. I like that. It's a really good idea. And I was wondering if you guys had, first of all, your impressions on that deal, which is awesome, and any suggestions of easy 1,000 gamer score, or easy, you know, even if it's less than that gamer score, that you can bash out on a cheap game or a game everybody has, or if you have any tips like you would suggest for that, to help us get as much money out of Microsoft as we can.
I have a question related to none of that information at all. But to tell someone who doesn't know much about Microsoft Rewards, because he hasn't dabbled in it until today.
Oh, you've
what
never
sort
done
of
it?
Rewards? I've never done it.
Wow.
What sort of rewards can you get using these points? I think people are already
actual money.
Yeah, gift
actual
cards.
money.
You can get actual Microsoft points. You can get Game Pass Ultimate subs, like for a month. You can get Starbucks coffee fucking gift cards. You can get, I think, Cafe Nero. You can get all kinds of weird shit. Or you can enter random sweepstakes and competitions, which I wouldn't suggest as much as doing that. But the best thing is, there are people that never pay for Game Pass Ultimate because they just like use the points, for example, to get themselves subs every month for that. Personally, I usually get myself gift cards. I usually keep it until it's at least £10 worth, £25 worth. I know Richard's big into that, and it's both the reason why both me and Richard, for example, pre-ordered our consoles directly from Microsoft is because we will get a buttload of reward points for buying directly from them. Which is, it's just like any reward program.
We will. I'm not sure we will on that, because they sometimes advertise that you'll get points for specific purchases, and I don't think they have for that.
Okay, well, if you don't, you don't, whatever.
But either way, yeah, it's easy to rack up loads. I'm on 40 quid's worth at the minute. I'm waiting to cash in because they sometimes do deals on the points as well. So you buy the Microsoft gift cards in denominations of £5. They're usually about 6,000 points for a fiver. But they'll regularly go down to 5,000. So every point that you get is worth, what does that work out as?
I don't know.
Well, every 10 points is a penny, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sure. Sounds good. Yeah, it's important to note as well, it's not just on Xbox, it's right across the Microsoft ecosystem. So if you like, you can get it for using Bing searching and stuff like that. You can do all kinds of things through Microsoft's just regular website. So there's lots of ways of racking up the points. And it's just nice to get a little bit back, you know, for the loyal customers like me and Richard and yourself. You know, if you're spending a lot in the ecosystem, and I believe you can get more back per your purchases depending on how much you use it. So it's like if you go up in levels basically of rewards. So
there's only a couple of levels, yeah. So there's level 1 and level 2. You get more back.
Oh, is that literally all there is now? There used to be more than that, didn't there?
Yeah,
I know.
They used to be.
Okay, they've simplified that. Fair enough. So worth signing up just for this. I mean, you can get up to 10,000 Microsoft Reward points just for playing games. You know, that's all it is. So I've already jumped in hard and put myself quite high up my little leaderboard, you know, as it were. I'm ahead of Richard currently for the month, which is a rarity. I might say that Richard is very good with his gamer score. Always
it won't
getting.
Stay that way, mate. It won't stay that way.
I didn't think it would. Trust me. So who's got some tips? Tips.
What's it called first? Because you've got to register, haven't you? You've got to go to our website and sign up first.
Nope. No, it's all through the Microsoft
do it on the
Rewards
console.
app.
Yeah. I did that this morning and then proceeded to play Star Wars Squadrons for 90 minutes and not earn a single achievement. Brilliantly productive morning there. But yeah, you just do it all on the console.
Yeah, it's through the app. It's a punch card on the app, basically. So you just sign up.
I've done that, but there is another website to sign up at as well.
But
if I find it during this recording,
that's a different thing for competition to do with things like, are you the highest gamer score person in the UK? You can get a Series X out of this, that kind of thing. So that's a competition element. That's a little bit different to the points punch card. That we're talking about right
It's
now.
part of the same program, though, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it's related, but it's not. You don't have to do it.
So you can sign up for that, and even if you're not the biggest gamer score in the UK, there are still like prize draws to get Xbox Ultimate subscriptions and stuff like that. So
yeah, it doesn't hurt, does it? Always worth getting in there. So games, come on. I've got an easy one. I did 1,000 gamer score in about 2 hours on Aircraft Evolution, which cost about £4.50, I think it was, or £5, and that's available now. So if you want 1,000, pretty easy. There is that game. That is definitely an option. Have you guys got any tips? Any good ones that get some easy gamer score?
If you haven't done Minecraft for the Xbox, that might be vaguely lucrative for a few hours, because there are some early on achievements for fairly basic stuff in there. So that may be one to go through.
Game Pass is pretty good at chucking out the odd couple of easy achievements. Fractured Minds is one. It's not a very good game, but it's quite short and will net you an easy 1,000 Gs, probably within an hour or so.
Minds. Game Pass is clearly the place to go. If you are a Game Pass sub, you might as well just download some of the shorter looking games, the smaller looking games. Do a little bit of research and just dive in there and try some stuff. Because why not? What I've been doing is and my list of played games this week is full of these. I'm not going to go into all of them, but basically I just went through my back catalogue of games which I'd never played, and just downloaded them, like quite a few of them, and just played them each for like a few minutes to get a couple of achievements out of them. Most of them are terrible games, but if you've never played a game, get in there, get those early achievements, and then move on to the next. You're going to rack up some easy score that way. I think I did about 500 Gs in a couple of hours without really trying. In that regard, and then Game Pass is in the same way. Just do it. Just try stuff, download it, give it a go, get some Gs.
The Lego games, the Lego Marvel or whichever ones are on Game Pass, they're usually reasonably lucrative for achievements as well. Yeah. They'll fall off around 600-700, and that's when you need to start putting time investment into it. But there are loads of walkthrough videos on YouTube as well for you to get lots of extra content from those. So if you don't want to have to figure everything out yourself, you can just have someone guide you through, maybe on a lazy, rainy Sunday, which we are due tomorrow.
And today, for that matter. Horrible weather out
Yes, but today's Saturday, not Sunday.
Yep.
Yeah, the Lego games are a good shout if you haven't just gorged on them for far too long. I think I'm dead inside because of Lego games. But that's a good shout. Not just for the achievements, but it is worth doing that just to find a good game, isn't it?
They are just fun.
There'll be stuff in your backlog. I'm not talking about Lego here specifically, but anything on Game Pass, anything that's in your backlog that you haven't touched for a long time or at all, possibly, it's worth just cracking through those first hours and just see what stands out as a good game that has gone unnoticed for a while. So worth doing.
One I found in my backlog, Richard, which is not a good game, was Horse Racing 2016. I do not recommend anybody puts themselves through that. I don't know why that was in my list of games. I don't know when I got that game or how I got that game, but it was terrible. So don't play Horse Racing 2016.
No, surely not.
I don't remember reviewing it. I didn't have any gamer score in it, so I couldn't have reviewed it. So, no, I don't think I did. But I don't know why I had it, Richard, and it was terrible. It's so bad, I might hide it from my list. You know, when you can hide the games on Xbox so you don't even see it anymore? I might uninstall it and hide it so I never have to look at it again. Because it was just PTSD around that. I killed my horse a few times playing that game. Like, you whip it.
Is it the Japanese one?
And you whip it, and then it falls down. It's like, it's dead. You've whipped a horse to death.
You were just representing the global consortium of Yoo-Hoo Glue in that game.
Yes, exactly. Is it Japanese, Richard?
Yeah.
No idea, mate. It's just
you'd know if it was.
I don't think it is. It's just bad.
There's a Japanese horse racing game that has all sorts of crazy shenanigans going on.
No, it's not. Oh, I know the one you're talking about. No, it's not like that. It's very serious. I think it takes itself like it's a sim. But it's also one of the worst things I've ever experienced. So props to those guys. It's everything from UI design to graphics to gameplay. It's just terrible. I think we should move on. I don't want to talk about that anymore. But that was, so that's our gamer score tips. Let's just jump into some of the stuff we've been playing now. Then I think there's quite a lot on the list. The stuff we've already talked about though, from in a few of the segments here. But me and Rob definitely.
Horse Racing 2016 is on your list, Ben.
It is on my list. I don't want to go back to it. Thank you, Richard. Don't make me do that.
Flashbacks.
I'm going to get PTSD here. Let's talk about the big game that Richard hasn't played yet, and we need to tell him if he should buy it or not. And that is the very reasonably priced Star Wars Squadrons that just came out from Motive and EA. This is about 35 quid in the UK, so probably about $40 in the US and stuff like that. And this is the fighter pilot game. This is the focus on, when you were a kid, before Jedi's became the only focus of Star Wars, I was always massively into the space combat. I loved the fighter pilot stuff. I loved those ancillary characters like Wedge Antilles and things like that. When they had their briefings, the squadron briefings and those huge battles. I mean, obviously we had a great battle in Rogue One as well, but the space combat of Star Wars was what made me love Star Wars way more than any of the Jedi crap and the Sith stuff. It was all about the space combat, and we finally have a modern interpretation of that. Obviously there were ones back in the day on PC, X-Wing, TIE Fighter, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, etc., but this new one, I think it's pretty awesome. Rob, how are you feeling?
It looks beautiful.
It's stunning.
It is painfully Star Wars, like physically painfully Star Wars to the T. It's wonderful. I love it. It's got quite a difficulty cliff.
Yep, it's hard. It's a challenging game.
It's not an easy game.
No.
Not at all. But it's really, really enjoyable. Really, really enjoyable.
I think the difficulty we're talking about speaks to how actually surprisingly simmy this game is. I think everybody expected this to be a very dumbed down flying experience, made for the masses, made for the kids. It's not. I mean, it's dealing with all of the kind of difficult control methods that you would find in a game like this. So you've got all the yaw and the pitch and the acceleration and the braking. You've got the power management elements. You've got different loadouts. You've got which really affect how you use the different ships. By the way, the loadouts. Obviously,
customization. Oh my god!
So much. It's quite bewildering. They don't really take you through it, and it kind of just goes, here you go. There's only a couple of multiplayer modes. They do that in the single player, do they, Rob? Okay. It might be because me and Rob and a friend we dive straight into multiplayer and we were just like, what the fuck is going on? Last night. But
doing 90 more minutes of the single player.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say, it's spoilers ish. There's a particular point in the third mission when you're playing as the New Republic, Rebel Alliance, whichever one you want to use as the moniker. You get taught how to drift. The instructions are highly unclear, and it resorted me to YouTube to try and find out how to do it after 20 minutes of failure.
I saw a tip article this morning, and one of the tips was explaining how to do that mission, and it was like, wow, that must have been bad then if they needed to do this. Okay. Unfortunate.
They use the phrase, you have to boost, and then they use the phrase, cut your engines. They never explicitly say, cut your boost engines. That's the thing. Right. That's all they have to do is disable your boost, and it would have been done like that. But no. That was a painful 20 minutes of, why isn't this working?
That's a shame. That's a shame. Yeah. That's not what you want. But I mean, from the single, I've only done the first mission, and then we played a couple hours of multiplayer is what I've done, and it's very simmy. It's like you're really thinking about the engine and the power distribution between all the different systems. You're thinking about the different loadouts you've got. You're thinking about there's a lot of strategy involved in the two modes of the gameplay, especially the capital ship. What is it called? Fleet battles. Which is this tug of war between the two capital ships on each side. We couldn't win a match of that to save our lives even on easy last night when we were playing. I feel like we were missing something. So there's a lot going on there. But it looks incredible. It's really Star Wars. It's at a reasonable kind of price point. I think if you're into Star Wars, it's a flipping given. It's like you need that in your library, especially if you love the space combat like I do. I'm really liking it a lot. Any questions, Richard? Yeah.
How much of it is campaign based, and how much is like a persistent simulation sort of experience?
So there's a self-contained single-player story where you bounce between being Rebel Alliance and the Empire. So you will get experience with both the X-Wings, A-Wings, and so on, and the various TIE ships that you can fly. I recommend playing through the single player first, because then you won't get overwhelmed by the customization and by the loadouts that Ben was just saying. Because I'm the third mission in, I was given an A-Wing to use, which is really fun, and they unlock a small amount of the customization options. So you have like one or two different options on a variety of systems that you can then apply, rather than here's 17 options. Have fun, you know.
Yeah.
It's nicely balanced. Yeah.
It's
So-
all space based, right? There aren't any
All of it.
level.
All space based, or all flying. I don't know if I think there are a few space stations you fly around and that sort of thing, but that you have a point and click movement system when you're in the respective hangars. So talk to various NPCs or go to briefing stations, that sort of stuff.
So to answer your sort of question, Richard, about the balance between single player and multiplayer, the game is clearly designed for the multiplayer. I mean, this is all about getting in and fighting other players. But saying that, bear in mind, there's not a lot of variety in the modes. It's possible that more stuff will come post-release, but there's basically two modes. So there's a couple of training modes, and then there's dogfighting or fleet battles versus the computer. And that is it. That is all there is. I mean, you have to bear in mind that this is not a full-priced game, I suppose, and therefore the features do reflect that to a degree. But, I mean, I don't know what really more you'd want from a game like this. I mean, those are the modes. I'm not really sure what else you'd do. I mean, it's not as expansive as, say, the experience was in an X-Wing versus TIE Fighter game back in the day on PC, because obviously those missions were extensive. There were a lot of them. They really went on. There was a lot of story stuff in there, but there was I can't remember if there was multiplayer in those games. If there was, I never really played it. At least not in the early ones. I don't think there was. But yeah, it's a very focused experience. That's how I describe it. It's very specific what they're trying to do, and they do it very well.
I'm going to stand up for the single player because the missions are big, expansive, and interconnected, because I know Ben hasn't done as much of the single player as I have. So I'm going to...
But the campaign length, I think, from what I've read, it only comes in about 4 or 5 hours. So it's
really?
like a first-person shooter campaign in that regard. It's not going to go on for 20 hours, no.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. What they've done is very good. Those missions, I mean, what I've done and what I've seen of it has been very good so far. But it's you're not buying it for the single player. You're buying it for the multiplayer.
Price point. That's kind of what I expected. I mean, at the price point, especially for a Star Wars game, I wasn't expecting too much in terms of a single player campaign. But if there's something there, then great. I've just been looking while you've been talking just to see how future-proof this game is, because obviously we're on the cusp of a new generation. Rob, you've talked about how beautiful this game looks. It looks as if there won't be an upgrade for next-gen consoles, which seems to be a shame.
Interesting.
Is it still worth buying, knowing that?
For £35, I would say yes, because it's still being output in 4K, and that's the Series X is meant to upgrade and improve 4K anyway. So it will only get prettier with the next generation.
And I couldn't tell you if they're running what their frame rate situation is. I really don't know if it's like a locked frame rate, unlocked frame rate. If they'll have some ability to improve that with the extra horsepower. I don't know enough about the specifics of this particular game for that. But because go on.
Oh, sorry. One thing I will be doing is keeping an eye on it, and when the price drops a little bit, because I don't want to spend £70 on this game, is I'm going to buy it for PC and I'm going to play it with my Oculus, because you have full range of head movement in VR. You can look around, everything. It's amazing. I want to see how that works, but I don't want to pay £35 for that.
I can imagine that would be incredible. Having seen some of the Star Wars stuff on PlayStation VR already. That's
Vader Immortal.
Vader Immortal, but also the VR mission from the original Battlefront had X-Wing stuff in it, which was incredible.
I need to go and buy something for my PlayStation on PlayStation VR. Excuse me.
Yeah, that was an amazing. Did you played that? Didn't you, Ben?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a free X-Wing mission if you've got the original Battlefront, which you can get now for about £5, I believe, if you haven't got it already. Well worth trying. So yeah, I'd love to be able to try this in VR.
From what I've heard, the VR is super well done. I've actually heard people saying like the game is better with VR, which isn't something you often hear, because I guess it's perfect design for that. You know, you're sat in a cockpit, you're static like you would be at home. So all you got to do is look around the cockpit. It gives you a bit more spatial awareness and stuff like that. Better for tracking targets. It's perfect. The perfect experience for that, I would have thought. It's just, you know, from the ground up. That is where VR is great. I mean, it sounds a bit like how well the VR was done. I think in the Ace Combat 7 as well had VR support, I want to say, and that was a similar thing where again you're sat in a cockpit. You know, it's perfect for that. Absolutely perfect. So what VR was designed for almost. So yeah, I can only imagine that'd be really good, especially on the Oculus with the high end VR sets and stuff like that. It's going to look pretty sweet. Yeah,
I've still got Vader Immortal to play through. Apparently, there's a story mode. I'm just in the dojo doing lightsaber combat all the time. So,
but this is manageable on a regular controller, though, right? Because you talk about how in depth it is, but it still maps to a controller reasonably well.
It's designed.
Very, very
it's designed for the controller. The control scheme has been created to work, you know, from the ground up with the controller. However, I was considering a HOTAS setup for the Xbox, pretty much just for this game. So I was looking at that, but thinking about how I would do the setup at home and stuff like that. I haven't got a brilliant setup for that, so I might not bother. But yeah, there's lots of flexibility in the controls as well, like full mapping options, things to do with how you instigate the throttle and stuff like that. Lots and lots and lots of choices to really hone it down to work best in the way that you like it, which is always nice to see, that level of flexibility in a console game. So that's really cool. And obviously if you have the Elite as well, you've got the paddle options as well, so you've got lots of options for, like, you know, really making the most of that setup. So that was pretty cool to see. I was digging into that. I always like looking through the options. My god, Rob is being climbed on by his cat. If you hear anything else on the mic, that's what it will be.
I apologize.
Okay. Did you guys want to touch on any other games?
I haven't really been playing anything else this week. I've been quite busy getting some other stuff outside of gaming life sorted. I've set aside most of this weekend for gaming. Yesterday was Star Wars. Tomorrow is Doom. I am working on a game as well that you sent me for a review. So I've been doing bits of that as well, which I'll probably go on to in a minute, or I can go on to it now. I don't mind.
No, I mean, I would say, as considering the time, we'll save that for the review. That's not a problem.
It shall be a surprise. Stay tuned to experience kills.
How about you, Rich?
I haven't played a great deal this week. It's been a busy week, new job and stuff. But I did finish the most recent South Park game, which has been on the back burner for a while, but cracked through that. That was good. That was funny.
He said that very seriously.
Cheap.
That was funny.
It was funny.
I laughed at least once.
I enjoyed it. Have you finished that one?
No. I played it, but I never finished it. No, I think there was a battle I got to, and it was just like a particular fight when I was running away, and you have to like fight people chasing you or something, and it was tedious, and I kept dying, and it was just like that's
the strippers.
Okay,
I think
sounds like I mean, it's South Park, sounds possible. Yeah, I just found that it was just annoying, and ended up bouncing off because of it. I think, from what I remember.
Yeah. It can be a bit like that. There's a couple of battles you think, oh god, really, does it have to be that hard? But got through it. It is a funny game. I'll probably go back to Stick of Truth now, because I've bounced off that really quickly. But now I know I can do them, so try that again.
Cool. That's
easy achievements as well, actually.
Good to know. I wanted to give a shout out something quick, because I've been sat on this for a while, and it's a book. But I've been reading it and absolutely loving it. I just wanted to recommend it to everybody. If you're into your gaming history, I've been reading something called The Games That Weren't, which is it's not the most exciting cover, but I actually quite like the minimalness of this, and it doesn't really work because it's backwards on my webcam. But there you go. The Games That Weren't by Frank Gaskin, published by Bitmap Books, which is a little UK publisher that specialises in pretty obscure, mostly books about cover art. Like these incredible collections of games that you remember from your youth, like Game Boy cover art, SNES cover art, C64 stuff, Atari stuff, things like that. This book's a bit different for them because this is more like a huge history about all of these games that didn't come out for various reasons. Maybe they got stuck in development hell, maybe there was licensing issues, maybe there was technical issues that meant the game didn't come out. And for someone that's interested in gaming as a whole, you have to remember that there are 3 times to 4 times as many games that don't get released, that get developed to a point and then never come out than the ones we actually see. So there's a huge unwritten, unreported history of titles that, you know, get into development but don't see the light of day. And I think a book like this, exploring that and really, you know, talking about dozens and dozens of games all the way from the earliest generation all the way up to today that went through a process of creation and then don't come out. There's not a lot of mediums like that, because if you think about it, there's not many films that don't end up getting released. There's not many TV shows that don't come out or get cancelled before you ever see anything. So all that creativity, all that effort and love and production, that then is just lost to time, lost to history. So it's a book that goes into that, you know, and I think it's absolutely fascinating and well worth the read and well worth checking out if you're into video game history. Richard, I think you'd really dig it. I think you'd find it really interesting. Yeah, I don't know about Rob. Maybe he doesn't care. I don't know.
Did they talk about Scalebound in it?
Oh, I knew he was someone who was going to say fucking Scalebound.
That was my first question to him when he mentioned it to me the other week, wasn't it? Scalebound. It was shit. Don't talk about it because it was never good, probably.
It looked amazing. No, this isn't a debate Ben and I have had multiple times. He's too closed-minded. It's fine.
I don't know about Scalebound. I think there's a reason that never came out. What am I looking at here? Poor Virtua Hamster never came out. That's in here. I'm looking at that right now. I've opened it up. Stunt Car Racer Pro. You know, there's a lot of games you literally would never have heard of, because there's a lot of games that never even get to that point of announcement, that, you know, have shown a trailer, that have been worked on for multiple years, you know, without ever being shown to anyone.
Once heard of Stunt Car Racer. That's a classic. So is that like a sequel or something completely different?
I don't know. I literally opened it on a page about that. It's just it could be that it was a port or a version of it that never made it out, you know. I'm just looking at a page here. The Dreamcast version of Half-Life. You know, so there's
oh my God.
There's information on that, for example.
Interesting.
You know?
Do they have any information about multiple sequels for Half-Life?
The original Fallout 3. The original Fallout 3. I've got another page here, for example. But, you know, the Black Isle Fallout 3 that never came out. You know, so that it was developed, for example. So there's lots of, and it's loads of artwork, huge like interviews, and just lots of information on these games that didn't come out. It's fascinating, really, really fascinating. I do recommend it a lot. Really, really good.
Think about Fallout 3. It never got enough DLC, did it?
I perfected Fallout 3, but I played it for 10 minutes. I may or may not have used an exploit to give myself all of the achievements in that when I was in university.
Oh God, what's the point? Oh my God!
So lame.
I was overly competitive with a friend of mine at the time.
Was that
trying to
achievements on what platform?
Xbox 360.
And your gamer score is still so low and unimpressive, Rob. Yeah, whatevs. I believe he has considerably less than either of us, Richard. So I'm just saying, and none of us did that. You set yourself up for that. I'm sorry, I couldn't not.
I know what I'm doing this weekend.
Well, that's what we're all doing. We're all get our gamer score,
I've only
man.
just started playing games that I get to review, so you know.
It's a bit different, I suppose. Yeah, that has assisted me
Unfair
in my gamer score, no doubt about that. That has definitely assisted me in my gamer score. 100%. So I think that brings us to the end of the episode, guys. Unless there's anything else you wanted to throw up, if Rob wants to measure any other statistics, so we can try that. No,
I'm gonna find some ironclad ones for next week, and
I bet your Steam library. I bet you got more Steam achievements than me. I bet that.
You don't game on Steam. That's not hard.
I'm just trying to help. I mean, I've got like 400 games on Steam, but I mean, like, you know, is that bigger or more than you? I don't know.
That is more than me. I don't have that many games on Steam.
Oh, I thought you would. Oh well, he loses that one too, Richard. Anything else you wanted to bring up?
I prefer quality over quantity, thank you.
No, I think you're good, Rich. Nothing else? No? Okay. So let's do the wrap-up bit. That's been another episode of Experience Kills. Thank you very much for joining me, boys. That's been Richard, who you can find at Colonel Red on Twitter, and that's been Rob down there that you can find at Homeless Mr. Gibbs on Twitter, I believe that's correct. I remembered it, Jesus. And you can find me at DIYE on Twitter. You can also find Experience Kills as a whole at, go on, guess, Experience Kills. Yeah, there you go, on Twitter as well. We've got a website.
Works.
It works? What works?
It works. The naming convention. It is what it is. That's good. Well done.
Okay. You can find us also at experiencekills.co.uk. You can find us on YouTube. I'm hoping that's where you've watched this. And, you know, if you have enjoyed this on YouTube, bear in mind you can listen to the full cut, uncensored version, as if there was a difference, in audio form as well, on now one of many podcast providers. Now we've got improved our podcast hosting service, including things like Google we're on, Amazon Music we're on Acast, we're on iTunes, we're on Spotify. The list goes on and on and on. Basically, wherever you can find a podcast, you can probably find Experience Kills now, which is brilliant. Please give us a like and subscribe on YouTube as well if this is where you're watching it, because we are approaching a massive milestone, and it would be great if you can help us out there. Maybe we can get there around the time as the Series X launch. That would be really cool, and the PS5, if we can tie all that together. And we're considering some competitions and some giveaways and things like that to bring all of that nicely together. So that's been another episode. We should be back in a week's time with more games that we've been playing in the latest video game news. It's been great having you. I hope you've enjoyed this. So guys, I guess it's time
ciao
to go.
for now.
Goodbye for now.
Bye.
TTFN.